Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you haven't subscribed already, click that subscribe button. Trust us, it'll be worth it. Thank you. What is up, everyone? I am Chris Knight, and this is the Real Review 3000. And today, with me, as always, when we do these things, is Stig. And Stig, how are you doing today?
Doing quite well. Sleep issues, so I'm online talking to you.
Oh, there you go. So
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it is. So today, as you can see by the pictures above us, we are talking Predator, 1987 Predator to be exact, not the new remake thing that they came up with. Yeah, whatever it was, interesting stuff. So let's talk a little bit about who's in this movie. Of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger is in this movie, and this is, I guess I would say, typical Arnold Schwarzenegger for the 80s. What would you say about that?
Yeah, spot on. Pure action with a little dash of sci-fi.
Yeah, and Jesse the Body Ventura, a wrestler. That seems to be the thing they would always do, is they'd retire from wrestling or stop doing wrestling so much and then go into movies. And a lot of football stars, a lot of wrestlers did that. And then Jesse, of course, went to politics after that, like Arnold, and both of them almost totally collapsed their economic structure of the state that they were governors of.
Well, it happens.
It does.
What's his name? Carl Weathers.
Yeah,
was a football player, I think, before he became an actor.
Yeah, but Carl Weathers, Kevin Hall, Bill Duke. We mentioned that. You did, actually, before we started the stream. Bill Duke was in this. I'm trying to remember. I'm looking at it. Elpidia Carlillo or Carrillo. That's Anna. That was the gorilla.
Carrillo, probably.
Carrillo. Yeah, that sounds right. Sonny Landham, Shane Black, Richard Chavez, Chaves.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, and then R.G. Armstrong, who played the general. Carl Weathers, that's a notable name. Bill Duke, another notable name.
So Sonny Landham tended to be in a lot of tough guy roles in the 80s and 90s. Probably best known for Predator and 48 Hours.
Make sure that the chat can hear us. Since we're doing this live, this is something we haven't done, guys. We have never done these live. We've always recorded these ahead of time. So I just want to make sure people can hear us.
Yeah, I just checked.
Okay.
People can hear.
All right, cool, good. All right.
I could anyway.
Oh, that's good. So let's break this movie down a little bit. Try not to take too long. We've been in 3-hour conversations in the past, which...
Yeah.
Can't happen.
Yeah, whoever was watching that one could have watched the movie twice.
Yes, they could. So let's talk about this. Basically, spacecraft comes from space, of course, lands on Earth, crashes.
It doesn't crash. They shoot at a kind of like a pod.
Yeah. But it lands in Central American jungle, if I remember right. And then basically it's a former Vietnam veteran, Dutch, and a mercenary crew that he works with. And they're tasked with, I believe, finding a foreign official and his aide that they say are being held hostage by insurgents. And there's a CIA agent named Dylan, and a former commando and old friend of Dutch is what he is. And they basically go after this aide and the foreign official. That's what they're that's what they're told.
Yeah, and then they find the team that was sent before them by Dylan,
and
so it seems it's that they're sent there to find the other team and then figure out what happened, but they're not told that until they find out the hard way.
Yeah, so they come across the, basically jumping pretty close, quick into it. They find this helicopter with the team that was sent beforehand. Basically, the Dylan, you get the feeling fairly quick that Dutch knows Dylan knows more than he's letting on.
Yeah,
he doesn't trust Dylan per se. I mean, because I guess there's dynamic there that they've had a history, and that Dutch just doesn't trust him completely. He trusts the other guys in his team because he knows them all, and they're kind of they've worked together before, so he feels comfortable around them. But when they add Dylan to this team, he basically puts up objection on it. He's like, I don't want him here. And when they find the team, 3 of the corpses that they find in there, 3 of the Green Berets, are skinned.
Oh yeah, skinned and beheaded and have fine. Basically very dead.
Yeah. And when they find them, Dutch somehow identifies who they are and says he knows who they are.
He looks at the dog tags.
Yeah. And he says, I knew these guys, and it's a minor plot point in there that by this time something more is going on. Now, not per se exactly what ends up happening, but at this point Dutch is kind of alerted, and he knows something's up. But,
and Billy, the Native American, starts getting spooked.
Yeah,
he basically senses that something's watching them. And this is after they make mincemeat out of the insurgents.
Yeah, basically. So Dutch identifies the Green Berets, but they continue. But at this point, they still don't know why they're really there. They get to the insurgent camp, and they kill the insurgents. And then there's a Soviet intelligence officer there that they kill.
I have to point out that one of the highlights of the movie is when Arnold Schwarzenegger impales a guy to the wall with a knife and says, "Stick around."
Mm-hmm. No, the one-liners in this movie, just in general, Arnold Schwarzenegger one-liners, as bad as they could be, are funny.
Yeah.
Even though you're like, oh, it's funny.
I know the feeling.
There's one really good one near the end that we'll talk about later. But basically, they kill the insurgents, kill a Soviet intelligence officer, and he's going through documents, and they're not really sure what this is all about. And as Dutch is going around and kind of surveying what's going on, Sean says he was spooked by a census taker, talking about the Indian in this. And what is he? I'm reading the chat as we're going along. Hey, Sourcross, how you doing? DJ's in the DJ Odyssey's in the chat, and Sean's in the chat. Thank you guys for being here. But Sean says that the Indian was spooked by a census taker, and then says Arnold has the best puns. So
I have to argue that with him, because Roger Moore is also a very great pun maker.
He is. And okay, so Dutch surveys what just went on, and he kind of gets right now that this is not what he thought they were sent there for. And so he confronts Dylan. Dylan admits that the mission was not what they were told, and that it was there to retrieve intelligence from captured operatives, and that the dead military unit was had disappeared several weeks earlier, and that they had come to do the same job that they were there to do. And Dutch doesn't take this too well.
No, he gets a bit pissy.
Yeah.
And Dylan gets a bit arrogant, I guess.
Yeah. It's kind of like, don't be holier than thou, if I remember right. It's kind of saying, you do your job and, do what I tell you to do, kind of.
Yeah, there's a little dispute about morals.
Yeah, definitely. And which is funny because, you think about this. The way that Arnold Schwarzenegger is portrayed, commando, they come in to, kill this whole camp of people, basically. And then they start talking about, well, I that's not why I came here, and this and that, It's kind of like, who's right, who's wrong.
Yeah, I think he says they're a rescue team, not assassins, but I don't know. Those insurgents got pretty much assassinated.
Yeah, I mean, they kill them that's not what they were there for. They were lied to, so they kill them, and I think that's kind of where Dutch is coming from. He's like, I'm okay killing people, but not when I don't kill them for the reason I thought I killed them for, basically. So they do have at this point they kind of capture Anna, I believe her name is, which is the gorilla. And I can't remember what we said her name was, but she's there. She lives. They basically take her hostage, I guess you could say. I think he takes her more to the point to kind of protect her. She's kind of spooked by what happened and all that, if I remember right.
Yeah, she's the only one alive, and I think they take her with them because, well, Dylan wants her with them. She may know something.
Yeah. So at this point, mission accomplished. Basically, Dylan, says, "Okay, we're going to go back to the extraction point." So they go back there, and now this is kind of where you start realizing, and they start showing in the movie that there's something else about, and they show basically at this point all they're showing you is thermal imaging pictures of the team, and various pictures from distance of the team, and that's where you, as the viewer of the movie, realize that what the spacecraft and all of that led up to. And it doesn't take a ton of time in the movie to get there, but
like half an hour.
Yeah, but the fact is a half hour in, you have this whole subplot that, in the long run, the only reason for the subplot is to get them to Central America so this thing can hunt them, which the movie is about. The movie is about the hunter, the predator.
Yeah.
Which
and it works because once the predator shows up, it's all about survival.
It is.
Which is actually very natural because you can have all the plans in the world, but as soon as a catastrophe happens, it's all about survival.
Yeah, so as the predator's tracking them, Anna, the gorilla, breaks free and runs. Hawkins, one of the other...
played by Shane Black, who I think wrote Die Hard.
I'd have to look that up.
Or was it Lethal Weapon he wrote?
Let me go look.
He actually directed The Last Predator, too. And Iron Man 2, I think. Or was it Iron Man 3?
I'd have to look.
He's actually a very good action movie writer, but
I'm
he
gonna get.
didn't do that well with the new Predator, though.
No. Let's see here. I'm gonna go to his filmography. Writer, The Predator in 2018. Lethal Weapon in '87. Yeah, that was actually that was his first one. It looks like he ever did. He wrote
Yeah.
that. He wrote Lethal Weapon 3, Last Action Hero. Interesting, and the video game script. He wrote that for Last Action Hero. The Last Boy Scout. Lethal Weapon 4. No, Lethal Weapon 2. So he. Oh no, they gave him. Okay, so no, he wrote Lethal Weapon, and they just credit him for the characters of Lethal Weapon 2, Lethal Weapon 3, and Lethal Weapon 4. That's what they do. Okay. Iron Man 3, he did. He wrote the screenplay for it. Then he also wrote, and this gives the series a little bit more validity, I guess, more than I thought it ever had. Lethal Weapon, he wrote the pilot for this TV series.
Hmm.
So, Sean, I guess there's a bit of legitimacy since Shane Black wrote the pilot for the TV series Lethal Weapon.
And he also wrote what's it called, The Good Guys.
The Nice Guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's actually a very underrated movie.
And then Doc Savage, he's writing a screenplay for that. It's announced, so it won't be out for another 10 years because of this whole nonsense going on in the world.
Yeah. So actually a pretty good writer.
Yeah, no, he is. He was in Dark Justice, the TV series, RoboCop 3. He plays Donnelly. The Hunt for October. Reuben James, crewman, uncredited. Predator, he plays Hawkins. Night of the Creeps, cop in police station, uncredited. So he has a few uncredited parts, but he hasn't acted a ton. Just every once in a while he comes in. But Predator, yeah. So Predator, he had his moment in, and yeah. Anyways, Anna breaks free, and he goes after her.
I'm wondering if they killed Hawkins off first by for good reason, because up until then he's telling people jokes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the humor ends when he dies, and that's where the survival starts.
Yeah, and I think that that's very poignant. Well, think of it this way, and I don't like to use this movie a lot in the idea of it, but the idea that is that in, I believe it was Wolverine Origins or X-Men Wolverine Origins with Ryan Johnson and the horrible Deadpool they made in that, or that was that X-Men Origins Wolverine. I don't know. Anyways, whichever one Ryan Johnson was in, he's the comedy. He's the comedy until he's taken out of it. And
Yeah.
And so it's similar in the same thing. You take the comedy out, and now you have this underlying what the F's going on. Because it becomes, like you said, very serious. It's about survival from that point on. And it's pretty much, so you've reached the precipice of this roller coaster. And at this point now, it starts to, boom, dive, and then take your turns, your spins, your loops. Because that's where we're about ready to end up. Because Anna escapes, Hawkins follows her, tries to get her back, and they're ambushed by the Predator. It spares Anna but kills Hawkins. Now, we don't know why at this point. Later on, we figure it out. But we don't know why it spares her but not him. They kill Hawkins, and it takes his body. Because it has a thing for, I guess, the trophy. Would you say that's kind of what it's doing? It's a trophy more than anything, I think.
Yeah. He takes the spine with the skull attached to it.
Yeah. And anyways, basically they come, they find Anna, they rally together and say, okay, we got to find Dutch. And they know he's dead, but they want to find his body. So they basically go out looking for him, And then Blaine, which I believe is the one that was played by Jesse, right?
Yeah, the one with the
Yeah.
minigun.
So they're going out looking, and he kind of, I think, sees the predator. Kind of turns around.
The predator tosses blood at him or something.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it is, but he knows something's up, and I think he turns around to alert the rest of the team. At which point, the predator uses his plasma weapon and basically impales Blaine. And
he blows a hole in his torso.
Mm-hmm. Hold on
The
just
whole
a second. Yeah. Yeah, it just makes mincemeat out of him. It's a pretty cool weapon.
Yeah.
At which point, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and at this point, the predator has taken out the humor of the troop
Mm-hmm.
and the biggest badass.
Yeah.
Basically, the biggest weapon, to be honest.
I believe it's Mac. Then basically takes Blaine's. I'm trying to think. Oh God, come on! I can't think of the name of the gun now.
Minigun?
Yeah, thank you. Nah.
Yeah.
Takes the minigun that Blaine had, and
He uses the minigun to the max.
unloads it. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole team just the most unrealistic part of this whole movie, I would honestly say, the most absolute unrealistic is the fact that this whole team, who's supposed to be trained mercenaries, basically empties out their guns into the jungle.
Oh yeah, they're clearing the forest, literally.
Yeah, I mean trees and you know the leaves of the the large tropical plants and stuff are all just falling down and everything's falling. And for all of the shooting they do, they hit the predator in the ankle.
Yeah.
Like once. We're talking thousands of rounds of ammunition going into the jungle.
Well, that's actually explained though.
I don't remember that.
He's using the trees. So basically,
yeah. That's true. Yeah, he's three-dimensionally.
It's just above the shooting, I suppose.
Well, but, he's on the ground. He's on the ground at first.
Yeah.
And then he goes up. That's right. But they get him in the ankle, and this is where they realize that when it's injured, it has this green luminescent blood.
Yeah, Anna finds out that.
Yeah.
So she's actually not a useless damsel in distress, really. She's actually
exactly. Let's talk about that for a minute. You know, we talked about this before we started the stream, that this group of people in this movie are rather diverse. Without trying. I mean, you think about it.
You have a Latino, you have a Native American,
mm-hmm.
You have two Black Americans,
mm-hmm.
You have Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's trying to be American, but he's clearly not.
Austrian.
And you have a Latino female.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no big deal about it.
No. And again, the thing I think you and I always go back to is why don't you hire the best actor or actress for the part? And you'll see, oh, wow, I cannot put it up on screen, Christy, because this is StreamYards. But, Streamlabs, not StreamYards. Get to the chopper. $2 super chat. Thank you, Christy. I do appreciate that very much. But she says, get to the chopper.
Did you see the skit, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I think it was Kimmel or Fallon? They were doing a cooking show.
Yeah.
They were demonstrating all kinds of machines for the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Fallon was using the blender all the time, and Arnold snaps, and enough about the blender, get to the chopper.
Yes, I
And then
did see that.
he just freaks out and smashes the table and shit, yelling, get to the chopper.
Yeah. So they Anna realizes that the luminescent blood's there. The group gets like regroups to decide what's going on, and they come to the conclusion that imagine that something's stalking them. Dylan believes that it's more gorillas.
Yeah.
At that point, because they don't really know what's going on, but Billy is adamant that it's not human, whatever it is.
He actually says it rather eerily. He
Yeah,
says, there's something out there, and it ain't no man.
yeah, and they kind of go, whatever. They don't really buy into that.
It's probably where the tone shifts when he says that.
Yeah, and they definitely each one of these steps is taking you into a different movie almost.
Yeah.
You're now being brought into what the Predator is about. And I mean, at some point, you even feel like you're part of this group that's being hunted, because the way they do frame this is a very well done as far as shot, the camera angles and stuff, and how long it takes them to actually let you see the Predator.
Yeah.
It's done very well, and
Yeah. In most cases, when there's a horror element, the less you see, the better.
indeed. Yeah. So Billy is sitting there saying, this isn't men. This isn't a group of men. This is something. And literally, like you said, there's something out there, and it ain't no man. I mean, he literally is making sure that he makes it very positive that it's a singular thing. And so basically, they can't make camp, and they set up traps in various different places, counterweight traps, a bunch of different stuff. And this comes into play later on.
Yeah, and during the night, well, at at this point, Mac is starting to lose it because Blaine was his best friend, and it looks like a case of PTSD.
Yeah. One
He's
too
cutting
many.
himself with a razor,
Yeah.
and basically starting to lose it. And during the night, the predator steals the corpses
Yes.
for the trophies, which Arnold realizes they did the same thing to Jim Hopper.
So that night, as they're camping, a trap goes off, and Mac, this is kind of where he loses it. He kills a wild pig. He thinks it's the creature. He thinks it's whatever they're after, and he kills this wild pig. And that's when that's when the Predator comes in and gets Blaine's body. If I remember right.
Yeah, he's taken it during the night. I'm not sure when he did it.
I think it happens after the wild pig. I think, but this is when he does come and take Blaine's body. This is where Dutch, or Arnold Schwarzenegger, realizes that he's using the trees.
Yeah.
This is where he kind of gets that this is a very skilled hunter. It's smart because of how it's approaching things.
And it has advanced technology. So it's basically they're screwed, right? Because they can't see him, and he has way better weapons.
Yes, and they basically come to this conclusion to net it, or use a net and in a trap to catch it. And at that they basically succeed in a sense and capture it for a very short amount of time. And
Yeah, it's like a couple of seconds
yeah,
until it cuts loose.
yeah, and it's because of the claws, or its exoskeleton in a sense, because it's wearing a suit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not really. It's more like a wrist blade.
Yeah.
But mo- most of his clothes, I guess, are weapons.
Yes. I mean,
It
because
just
the plasma cannon is like it's on its shoulder. It's like he's wearing a shoulder harness type thing, like shoulder pads almost, helmet, and I mean, yes, his skin and his body is somewhat exposed, but anything that's actually attached to him that he's wearing is essentially a weapon.
yeah.
I don't want to say a transformer, doesn't sound right, but
Swiss Army knife.
yeah, he was Swiss Army. They're very good. Thank you, Steve. That's a very
Yeah.
nice observation there. Nindroid's in the chat. Nindroid, how'd you doing? Thank you for stopping by.
He even has a medical kit that you see him use before
Yes,
this happens.
yes. You know it the predator escapes and hurts Poncho, if I remember right.
Yeah. Or rather, the counterweight hits him.
Yeah. Mac and Dylan run after the alien.
Yeah, Mac completely loses it, and
Yes.
I think Dylan has a case of trying to redeem himself.
Yeah. At this point, Dylan realizes that the situation they're in is his fault. And
Yeah.
he's trying to fix it. In a sense, I mean, I don't know if he fully has remorse, but he feels a sense of feels a sense of
Duty.
yeah.
Maybe.
That's a good word for it too. Uh, but he feels like it's his responsibility to get them out of there. But being the predator, he is much smarter, quicker. The gadgets he has, the technology he has, is much better than anything anybody has in this group. So he kills Dylan,
Like,
and
he kills Mac because they're trying to surround him because Mac has seen him.
I thought he kills Dylan too.
Oh yeah, he kills Dylan afterwards,
Yeah.
gruesomely.
Mm-hmm. But he kills
Probably,
Mac and Dylan fairly quickly together because they're coming after him.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
then he catches up. He basically does that, and then he catches up with the rest of them because by this time we're moving a little quicker now. He's basically just taking them out.
And the biggest letdown of the movie happens because Billy has had enough.
Mm-hmm.
Tosses off his gear and pulls his hell of a big knife to have a one-on-one with the predator but by a log that serves as a bridge. It's also kind of stupid because he could have just torn down that log and they'd maybe been safe. To be honest, but and then you don't see the fight.
No.
You just hear a gut-wrenching scream.
Yeah. And I think that go ahead.
In the Predator 3, they actually pay homage to that one. It actually has a Yakuza guy do the same thing, but you actually see the fight. And that was as a little case of honoring the first one.
Yeah.
Giving the fans kind of what they wanted.
I think that when Billy gets killed in this, the amount of gore you've seen so far, the amount of violence you've seen in this so far should give you a pretty good idea that whatever they may have thought they were going to show or may have done was a lot worse than anything you'd seen already.
Yeah, and
they make it very clear that it was not something.
Yeah, and Billy is kind of the toughest of the lot, seemingly. doesn't look like someone who'd scream, right?
Yeah.
But he screams. He's like terrified.
Yes. And like I said, I mean, I don't know what they would have shown. I don't know what they had. I mean, they may have not intended to show anything, but the scream itself gives you a pretty good idea that it was bad.
Apparently, the actor was very difficult to work with. He had a tendency of getting drunk and picking fights with everyone because the guy was huge. He'd win every fight, right? So basically, a mean drunk, and they had to hire someone basically as a bodyguard for everyone else. They had to
Really?
be with him at all times
Oh wow.
because of insurance stuff, right? He might injure someone or injure himself.
Interesting. Um, yeah. So Billy's killed, and I think Poncho's killed at that point too.
Yeah, Arnold's dragging him, and
Yeah.
Arnold starts shooting at the Predator, I think, and the plasma blast hits Poncho in the head.
Yeah, but it injures Dutch too at this
Yeah,
point because that's where he gets injured, um, and then that's when we figure out, or he figures out, not necessarily well, this is why Anna was spared, but now we understand why she was spared. It doesn't actually target unarmed people or unarmed assailants or anything like that.
Arnold realizes they have to get to the chopper.
Mm-hmm.
Finally,
Yes. Where at this point,
and he makes it very clear.
Soul Assassin's in the chat. How you doing, Soul? And he put in there Billy. um. Yeah. So yeah, get to the chopper. Um. But but he understands that this thing doesn't target unarmed people because now he realizes that this thing is doing this for sport.
Yeah,
It's
he's
for nothing else. Literally,
yeah,
that is probably the thing where you realize, oh crap, this thing doesn't care. It's not doing this because it has to. It's not doing it because it's hungry or it needs to do it. It's doing it because it wants to. So now you kind of get the idea that the reason why it came here is
yeah. He's on safari, and the soldiers are the lions.
exactly there. You go, and that's where I was going with that. Is that this is a safari? This is a trip for him. He's coming here for sport.
Yeah,
And that, I mean, literally, it's a giant safari. The Earth is whatever, he goes wherever he wants, and that's how it is.
yeah, and Anna has actually heard of this because it's happened before, and she says people from her village says that when the seasons are really hot, there's a demon that sometimes shows up and takes or makes trophies out of men.
Mm-hmm.
So predators in general, I think, has been using that area for a while.
Yeah, and like I said, when he realizes that it doesn't attack unarmed people, that's when he tells her to run and go get to the chopper, and sends her off without weapons or anything. Really quick, I'm going to address this first off because I'm going to address this, and it kind of has to do with Predator. Nindroid asked a question a little bit earlier, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll answer this really quick. He asked, "Do you guys think that Wonder Woman 84 will get delayed?" And it's a bit off topic, but do you have anything about that?
Well, we're in 2020 now, and 1984 was many, many years ago, so it's been delayed quite a bit.
I knew it. I knew there was some nice quip in there. Yeah, I think it will get delayed much more than the 36 years that it's been delayed so far.
Yeah, I think we're looking at 35, maybe.
Well, yeah, maybe 84.
Yeah,
It depends on what month in 84 we're talking about. But so Sean then says Predator 2 was so bad, and I really wanted to like it because I like Danny Glover. And
Sean Stackhouse. You're full of shit. Predator 2 was an excellent sequel. It wasn't as good as the first one, but it was a very good movie.
And I'm kind of on board with that. I didn't mind it. I think there's parts, but I didn't think it was that bad. According to Christy, she says, "Yeah, Sean, Predator 2 was bad." Sean says, "Indeed," and then Sean said,
According to Christy, you're full of shit. Predator 2 was a very good sequel.
"See, that's the thing. I think people wanted something that I don't know. A sequel is a sequel, and it's not going to follow or." Well, one, I guess maybe people wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, actually, in Predator 2, Bill Paxton becomes the only actor to have been killed by a Predator, Alien, and a Terminator.
Yes.
And it has Gary Busey in it, so of course it's good.
Oh, yeah. Dude. Because leave it up to that guy to make it. What the... DJ Odyssey, math, mental abuse to humans. Soul Assassin, it's underrated. There you go. Soul. See,
Yeah,
Soul's got it.
Yes.
And then Sean Stackhouse says, "My village was wiped out by a typhoon when I was just a boy."
It was wiped out, but by your poor taste in movies. You're to blame, Sean.
Okay, Sean Stackhouse then says, "A sequel is a sequel, question mark, GB 2016. That I don't think Ghostbusters 2016, no. See, Ghostbusters 2016 1 is not a sequel.
As a reboot.
It's a reboot. And 2, Predator 2 is nowhere near as horrific as Ghostbusters 2016. So, let's continue down the way. So, Anna runs to the chopper. The creature, the Predator, runs after Dutch into a river. And this is where its cloaking device malfunctions and you see the Predator.
Yeah. You only see it when it's one guy directly opposing it, rather.
Yes. And Dutch has kind of figured out that this thing's tracking by thermal imaging, so he's covered himself in mud.
No, it happens by accident.
Oh, that's right, because he falls into the river. That's right.
Yeah.
And,
so it's pure luck.
Yeah, and when he's covered in mud, the Predator comes within a very close distance to him because his heat signature is reduced. And that's when he realizes that mud can help him out.
Yeah. When all else fails, use mud.
Who called Ghostbusters 2016 a sequel on a stream earlier this week?
It wasn't me.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't talk about that movie.
Sean says you called it a sequel on a stream earlier this week. Who's the you, Sean? Gotta wait for it. As soon as he comes up, I'll see. Okay, so he figures out mud can camouflage him, help him not get seen as easily. And at this point, he waits for the creature to leave, and the creature goes back to collect all his trophies and his bodies and all that. Me? I didn't call it a sequel. It's not a sequel. What the hell are you talking about? It's not a sequel. You said you say Chris or Stig. That's at this point right now we have to have that distinction there, Sean. You,
no,
Chris.
He's clearly talking about you.
I don't. When did I call it? I don't call that a sequel. It's not a sequel. It's its own movie. I mean, and it can't be a sequel because it doesn't take place in the same
continuity.
Yeah, it's supposedly in the same universe, I guess, is how they explained it. But I don't know. It's not a sequel though, and I don't call it a sequel. It was on the KC stream, just to remember which one. I've never called 2016 a sequel, because it's not. I was talking about Ghostbusters 3 at some point when we were talking about the real Ghostbusters. I was talking about Ghostbusters 3, or the new one coming out, Afterlife, but not 2016, because I didn't call that a sequel. So settle your butt down there, Mr. Stackhouse. So this is where, as it's collecting the trophies, the bodies, and all that, Dutch goes back out to formulate a plan to basically capture, kill the Predator.
It's basically hunting the hunter.
Yes.
By using primitive hunting weapons.
Yep, pretty much.
Makes a spear and a bow, and makes traps. So he's basically back to caveman style, almost.
Yeah.
Back to the very basics.
And then basically uses it to lure the Predator to him. And
he lights a fire.
Hold on, I have to quip it, Sean. Yeah, he lights a fire. And at this point, I think he figures out how to disable the cloaking device again.
No, he uses the last of his grenades and makes basically a Rambo arrow that lights an explosive arrow, and it damages the shoulder cannon when it during one of the explosions.
The plasma cannon.
Yeah.
And I guess it injures the Predator very minorly.
Yeah, he busts him up a little bit.
Billy Joel? What the hell are you talking about, Sean? Oh, I don't know. Sean's talking gibberish. I think he's on his Ambien now. Anyways, minor injuries. I believe it's the Predator falls into the river.
Arnold falls from a tree.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, yeah, it's Arnold that falls, and that's where his mud comes off because he goes in the water, and
yeah,
he loses camouflage.
Hand-to-hand combat scene where you actually see Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah,
stunt doubling for Arnold.
Mm-hmm. And basically, he's pinned by the creature. And this is a very quick, and there it went. I had the music going. This is a very quick scene, but we're going to show Jean-Claude Van Damme at this moment. We'll just go over here and we'll hit play. This is going to show you Jean-Claude Van Damme in Predator. And it'll slow it down, but right there, that's Jean-Claude Van Damme. And this is where they're fighting one-on-one.
Yeah, Van Damme was supposed to play the Predator.
Yes.
The original design of the Predator, which looks stupid. It looks horrible. It looks like a white lizard creature.
Mm-hmm.
It makes an appearance in the third movie as a separate alien that's in it for 5 minutes. So there's a little bit of an homage, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. So he's in there for just that split second because the camera tricks didn't work that well.
No, you can tell it's him.
Oh, Sean says this is just my normal gibberish, not the fun medically induced kind. I'm sorry. Okay, so they do the hand-to-hand combat basically because at this point the Predator kind of takes it as he's a worthy adversary.
Yeah, and he removes his helmet.
Yep.
So he doesn't have an advantage. He only has his knives.
Well, he takes and snaps off his gun and his shoulder harness thing, and then he pops, of course, very dramatically pops in the air, comes out of the helmet, and he pulls it off. At which point, Arnold Schwarzenegger uses another chance to throw in a great one-liner.
Yeah, which is, you look rather ghastly, sir.
No. It's you aren't. It's you're an ugly motherfucker, aren't you? Isn't it? Isn't that what he says?
I don't know. I don't cuss much.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, no. He basically says, "You're an ugly motherfucker, aren't you?" And
he's right.
And Sean says,
"Ugly as sin."
Yeah, Sean says, "Wait, was he Arnold's double?"
Yes, he was.
Yes. And that's actually how he got into acting, if I remember right, was through Arnold Schwarzenegger, wasn't it?
Could be.
I think Arnold might have helped him get his first role. I don't know that for sure, but it seems plausible. Therefore, it's probable. Yeah, so they do hand-to-hand combat.
Arnold loses.
Yeah, I mean, the Predator basically just uses him like a ragdoll for the most part. He's he's knocking him. I mean, he basically just goes boom, knocks him against a tree, I believe. At which point, he takes him and holds him up, and he's doing all that stuff. Knocks him through.
He's actually scanning his cranium.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That he does that before removing his helmet.
Yeah, that's right. That's what that happens.
Basically, inspecting the trophy he's going to take.
Mm-hmm. At which point, as he is getting his butt handed to him, Arnold decides to lure the Predator towards one of his counterweight traps.
Yeah. Almost fails too.
Yes. In fact, if I remember right, he's coaxing it.
It does fail because he wants the spikes to hit the Predator.
Yeah. He's coaxing it. Come on, come and get me, I think is what he's saying, right?
Yeah. Do it now.
Do it now.
Yeah.
Boy, there's some lines here that everybody uses. This
like worst bluff ever.
Mm-hmm.
Is clearly up to something.
Well, yeah, I mean and the Predator knows it too. It's looking at him going like, "What do you take me for here?" But it does go for it, and the counterweight is what falls on him. It doesn't kill him, and at this point, the Predator has a trick up his sleeve. He's got some sort of a self-destruct device on him.
Yeah, which actually makes sense because they wouldn't want their prey to learn their technology and use it against them, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically an explosive cyanide pill, really.
Yeah, it is. You would think that being not from this planet, he wouldn't want anything to be found, or I mean, I guess that kind of if he's blown up, they won't have anything to study or figure out what the hell's going on, I guess. And it's implied that he's not the only one, or the Predator isn't the only one of the group. Sean Stackhouse. At least he didn't have a trick in his pants. Yes.
That would make him a sexual predator.
Yes.
Which is something different.
Yeah, completely different. Anyways, as the creature's dying, it activates the self-destruct, and then he uses Billy's voice, like a voice meter thing, and it starts laughing in Billy's voice, or uses Billy's voice to laugh.
Which is eerie.
It is.
And then he blows a hole in the jungle. Mm-hmm. Arnold barely survives.
Yeah, he goes running and jumps, and cool explosion with him jumping out of the way thing. Typical action movie.
Yeah. Yes. It's what I always do when I go fishing.
Oh, yeah. drop the dynamite, run.
I fished a lot of blowfish, so.
Oh, nice. um, oh, Tommy is back. Tommy, thank you very much for coming back. Sorry, this is kind of an impromptu stream testing this out. But yeah, so he blows up. Predator goes boom, and basically Arnold is picked up by Phillips and Anna in the chopper.
And the chopper pilot is the guy who plays the Predator.
Yeah.
So you actually get to see the guy acting, I guess. Well, it was
For 5
just sitting there.
seconds. And that's the movie.
Yeah.
But let's talk just really quick. I mean, this is, I hate using this term, but truth be told, it's your standard 80s action movie. But those were really good.
Yeah, because the standard was really high.
It was.
And they couldn't have done a better job with this.
No. And I think it speaks a lot to think of this movie in the sense that if you think about where Arnold Schwarzenegger was in his career, his ability to speak and act was not the greatest. But they formed a good movie around him to where what he played worked for that movie.
And there's also a bunch of actors in this movie acted again. Bill Duke, I think, acted with Arnold in Commando, which was how he got recommended for this job. Sonny Landham was in Action Jackson with Carl Weathers. And then Ace Ventura was with Arnold in Running Man. So they kind of kept acting.
Well, I think when you find supporting actors that work well with other actors, you want to keep them together. And
this group of actors actually had very good chemistry in this movie.
Yes. Like I said, this movie isn't deep, but it fits what was wanted back then. And like you said, action movies it was easy to muff it up and not make a good one. But
yeah, the 80s was pretty much the heyday of the action movies, right?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't disagree at all. Lethal Weapon, Commando, Cobra, Bloodsport, RoboCop,
which we've discussed in a previous episode.
Yes, we have. No, I mean, but every summer your blockbusters now today in the 2000s, it's comic book movies. Back then, it was 80s action.
And they used real stunts.
Yes.
Always looks better than CGI.
Absolutely.
Oh, Tom is in the chat. Good man.
Yeah, no, and he's modding for me, so I greatly appreciate that, Tommy. It's good. Hopefully you're feeling better. I know you weren't feeling up to snuff there for a while. Yeah, so I am well, Tommy. Thank you very much. So we normally talk about this. We try to remember to give this a grade. I believe we've decided on, was it 1 to 10 or 1 to 5?
1 to 5, and then we combine the number from each of us.
So, why don't you go first?
5.
5?
Yeah, it does exactly what it sets out to do. It has no weaknesses. Every actor delivers. The special effects are great. The stunts are amazing. And it does what every movie should do, which is be entertaining. And this one absolutely is, and it's rewatchable too.
And there's the key right there, rewatchability. even the Marvel movies, every once in a while I'll go back and watch them. But up in my room right now, Lethal Weapon, the series, the Ocean series, which isn't necessarily for some people rewatchable, but for me, I like the series. But Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, Terminator, those are the 3 movie series I have upstairs right now. And what do they all have in common? 80s action.
Yeah, and incredible chemistry between
Yeah.
the actors,
Yes.
which is something they don't necessarily do that much anymore.
No.
Because they cast people based on popularity or diversity. Look at the cast in this one, diverse as heck, but they picked the best actors for the part all the way through, and it worked like a charm.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing happened with Aliens.
Yeah, Aliens is okay. So let me give my score real quick. I was going to go 4.5 because I was going to mention Aliens, and you brought it up. Aliens, I think, is the perfect movie in this sense.
Perfect until the end, because how did the alien queen get on board?
Okay, yeah, but there's some things, and even like in Predator, there's parts of it that you're like, well, how?
No.
I would say 4.5. I will concede 5 though, because you're right. This movie delivers exactly the way it should have. The chemistry of the actors.
It's not Shakespeare. It doesn't have a good plot, but not every movie has to.
But that's not what action movies were. They weren't supposed to be about the script per se.
They're just plausible, right? Plausible within the frames of that movie.
Guy that played Billy was in 48 Hours and The Warriors, and in 48 Hours his name was Billy too.
Yeah.
No, yeah, Soul Assassin. I haven't seen Predator for quite a long time, and somewhere around here I thought I had it on DVD, but I couldn't find it the other day.
He's also in a prison movie with Stallone. Can't remember what that was. Locked Up.
Oh, what was that?
Yeah, he's one of the main prison thug, right?
What was that called?
I agree with Soul Assassin. I would have liked to have seen the Alien 5 movie too. Concept art looked awesome. And they had Michael Biehn and Sigourney Weaver and all of them signed up.
Locked Up in 1989. That was it.
Yeah, he's in that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's in Poltergeist for a little bit.
Really? Yeah. Locked Up had Donald Sutherland, Tom Sizemore, had some good actors in it. And Bill Conti, the composer that did Rocky, I think, some of Rocky. So, and I think Stallone liked him a lot because I think Stallone's the one that picked out a lot of stuff.
Actually, we haven't mentioned that the soundtrack in this movie is awesome.
Oh, it is. And that's the thing, though. These movies, the soundtrack always helped a movie. And it was very well
done. Starts up cheerful with a Little Richard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just gets darker and darker as the movie gets darker and darker, which is great.
Well, it should reflect the mood of the movie. Music music helps frame what's going on, and music is the first indicator of something's changing, something's about to happen, something bad's going to happen, something good's going to happen. Yeah, you can always tell by the way the music will go. Like, for instance, if music goes completely away, especially in a movie like this with the jungle scene, and all you hear is the jungle noises and no music, something bad's going to happen.
Yeah, because no music prepares your eyes completely.
Yes.
It takes away your hearing sense in a way. Mm-hmm. Tommy says the guy's name is Langdon. He's almost right. It's Sonny Landham.
Yeah.
I think he passed away last year. He had a traffic accident and lost his legs, and then later died from a heart attack, I think it was. So he's
Actually 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Oh,
August
shit.
17th, 2017.
Yeah. He also went into politics, I believe.
Mm-hmm. He was
A tremendously effective actor.
he was the governor of Kentucky. So we have 3 future governors in this movie.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder how many movies can say that. Well,
Not
so combined score of 10. Not surprising. I would have said before this probably between 9 and 10 was where it was going to end up. Oh yeah, no, the music in modern movies is trash most of the time.
Yeah, and the heroic music when the hero starts beating up the bad guys. That's also gone.
Oh yeah. Well, you don't get action movies like this anymore. That's why when I hear maybe uh, a new Die Hard or a new Lethal Weapon, I'm always like, I don't know if you can recapture how that was done because your movie industry has moved past that, and to find somebody who really understands that anymore these days, that anybody in Hollywood would give a movie to. Either they don't want to be a part of Hollywood the way it is anymore, or Hollywood doesn't want them to do a movie in Hollywood anymore. So Hollywood's just kind of said, no, I don't want that anymore.
I think the closest thing is probably the Expendables, especially the first two.
Yeah, but think about who's in it.
Yeah,
And think
and I guess to some degree, John Wick.
oh yeah, John Wick is a rarity in this world.
Oh, and the Judge Dredd movie. That one felt 80s from start to finish.
Sean super chatted $5 just so I would say this. This should be Stig's show and on his channel. He's much better than the host.
You're too kind, Dolly. But Chris is better than I am, for sure.
I don't even think we should go into who's better than who. I think we're both great. I know I'm great.
Movie a 5, so we were probably on par, both of us.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anything else you'd like to say about this movie?
I guess we could touch on the sequels a little bit. The franchise didn't get pissed on too much until the previous movie, which was a train wreck.
See, I didn't want to watch I think it was 2018 Predator. 2018 was it?
Yeah. The first half of it is okay, and then it just goes weird.
Does it?
Yeah. It's worth a watch though. You know, it could become a guilty pleasure thing, I guess. But Predator 2, like I said earlier, is a very good sequel.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as good as the first one, and it would never be that, because after the first one, you know the Predator can't be killed. So now it's just a question of how, right? And it's set in the city, which is cool. You can't just do another one in the jungle. Then it would
I
be
think that's where a lot of people lost interest in it, maybe.
Yeah, they put it in the urban jungle, didn't they?
Yeah, but I thought that was great because now we see that it wasn't just the fact that it was the jungle that he was the better opponent. It's him. It's the Predator that is the ultimate hunter.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, Shane Black.
It had a great cast.
Yeah,
for
Sean.
Time. It had the lady from Running Man.
Yep.
And Bill Paxton was really good. Danny Glover played the lead, and Gary Busey was in it.
Mm-hmm.
His son was actually in the new Predator, playing the son of Busey's character.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that. Sean asks, didn't Shane Black write one of these films? Yeah, he wrote the first one. I think, right? Isn't that what we said earlier?
And the last one.
Yes. 2018 Predator and the 87 one. The third movie wasn't it the Predators?
Predators.
Yeah, Predators. Yeah, and
I actually like the premise of that. They had kidnapped dangerous people from Earth, just dumped them on a planet to hunt them. I thought that was a cool idea because it seems like something the Predators would do.
Yeah.
And at least it was something new, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have, again, it's been a while. That was like what, 90?
No, Predator 3 was 2006,
Was it?
maybe. Had Adrian Brody in it, strangely enough. An Oscar
2010.
winner.
Yeah, 2010 was it.
It was him and Eric Foreman.
Yeah, I was thinking of Predator 2 as 1990. So
yeah,
and then
I actually saw Predator 2 before 1.
Did you?
Yeah.
That might be why you. I mean, I like Predator 2, but that might be why you like it more. I don't know. Not more, but why you like it.
Yeah, I like the first one better.
What do you think of Alien versus Predator?
It was an interesting concept, and like Soul Assassin says, it should have taken place on a different planet, preferably in the future, like the comics, right?
Yeah.
And they should have never made it PG-13.
And therein lies something. If you go look back on some of my old videos, I did a video about, thanks to Stig, actually, because Stig mentioned that Disney was thinking about putting a Disney Plus series up that is Predator and was going to be PG-13.
Yeah, because they won't do R-rated on Disney Plus.
And I think if you're going to do that, you might as well make a separate streaming service for R-rated stuff.
Yeah,
you can't do Predator PG-13, and as you said, AVP was not nearly the movie it could have been.
Yeah, it was entertaining,
and
but
the second one, same.
And
thing.
But it was, I don't know. The aliens grew big way too fast, and the aliens only squirted blood when it was for a cool scene. Because the Predator slashes the head off one of them, and he's 2 feet away. No acid blood spraying.
Yeah.
That happened a lot.
Yeah, I watched them both once, and I was done with them. Like you said, good concept, poorly handled, though.
Yeah. It had Lance Henriksen in it playing Wayland, so it tied into Alien 3.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. It's better than Alien vs. Predator 2, because that one's so dark you can't even see what's going on.
Yep. Well, other than that, that's all I have on this today.
Yeah, I'm done too.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in today on our first live stream version of Movie Talk with Chris and Stig. We'll be back with another one here before too long. It's been a while since we've done one. I think back in October was the last one we did with Miss. We did The Shining.
Didn't we do one after that?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and double check.
We've done Blade Runner.
Our first original one was Blade Runner.
Yeah, then we did Jaws, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And RoboCop, Falling Down.
So that's 4. 5 was, I think
The Shining was number 5.
Mm-hmm.
So this is episode 6, probably.
Mm-hmm. So, with that said, guys, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. And, say goodbye. Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks for checking us out. Channels and it's on YouTube and BitChute. And you can also send us an email at Sean@SeanStackHouseReacts.com and chrisknight@TheRealReview3000.com. And be sure to swing by our Teespring store to pick up some awesome merchandise.